Who the hell was that guy?
Over this side? Okay.
Just a quick warning, this video is going to have some unavoidable flashing lights and a surprising amount of hobbit stabbings. I didn't want it to be this way, but sometimes the project needs what the project needs, and this project needed hobbit stabbings. Okay. So, I've been thinking about the Witch King of Angmar recently. He's really important to the events of Lord of the Rings, but he's not really that important to the story. He really is like a glorified mini-boss. It makes him kind of a free-flowing character. He's sort of a build-your-own bad guy, but he's like gonna be remembered. So he has to be this really keystone design in the whole, look of your production. So here's a dilemma. Other than having like bits of it read to me when I was really, really young, I didn't experience Lord of the Rings but through its adaptations. So that means before I read them proper, I'd seen every film adaptation, at least that I know of. But here I am on the other side of that, and let me tell you, it is not good enough. You don't need me to tell you that Lord of the Rings as a set of books does not disappoint, and I'm pleased to say that my hundreds of viewings of these films as a child and as an adult didn't really blunt that experience. I didn't feel like I was just reading a version of the movies or like seeing set pieces or actors. It was all there in the text. There was really nothing to want for, with one kind of exception, and that's the damn Witch King. All three versions of this clown are extremely iconic in their own way, and as a result, they all got in my way of imagining this guy kind of for myself. This never happens, I swear. I was just distracted. I was reading the books during the pandemic. I had a lot on my mind. I was stressed, okay? So after that didn't happen, what are you talking about? I sort of got it in my head that, like, it'd be fun to do a case study on this guy and see what elements make an awesome Witch King. Then a bunch of stuff happened, and then it was now. Okay, so let's start with the Backshi version. If you're unfamiliar with Ralph Bakshi or his version of Lord of the Rings, then I'm excited to get to be the one to tell you about it. It's everything you expect out of a version of Lord of the Rings made in the 70s. It's crazy, it's long, it's bizarrely beautiful, it's completely cocaine-fueled. It's hard to find a single, minute of this movie that isn't in some way kind of brain-bending. But if you're just like a normal viewer looking for a good Lord of the Rings movie, this ain't it. This is for animation nerds and people who want to ask, what if Lord of the Rings was a 2.5-hour music video with no music? Well, there is, a score, but, you know what I mean. Sadly, we live in the dark timeline where Bakshi didn't get to make his version of Return of the King, so we're gonna have to settle for a first form Ringwraith version from the Fellowship arc. First, let's just address the coolest unit of Ringwraiths. It's not even close. Jackson's gang of nerds in bathrobes, not doing it. Honorable mention to the flying skeleton ringwraiths from the Rankin and Bass version, but still not even close. In fact, maybe I should have started somewhere else entirely, because this guy really is the sizzle. He's so alien and otherworldly. An absolute smoke show of a king of darkness. I love his animal mask and his blurry, ornate armor and medals. They give you this, ancient feeling. Not by making him a shabby middle-aged design where he looks like, a late middle-aged knight who's just been run through a tumble dryer full of garbage, but by making him look like he is from antiquity. Some Bronze Age monster from a time before decency was conceived. His face is all wrong in a way that's so right, and all the bizarre animation choices that build him up just add to this crazy 1 foot out of reality feeling you get when he's moving around. The hardest thing to capture about this guy is his smoky bedroom eyes. No, I'm kidding. Is the subtle wrongness that comes from him being half rotoscoped and half whatever the hell Bakshi was smoking that day. There are shots where you can get clearer vision of what the actor is wearing to make up this creature, but I don't think that's really essential to what he is supposed to be. He is this ancient thing wandering from the dark. It captures that little hint of that unknowable glimmer, that alien nature. It had something really unique to his mystique. Subtle, you could call him. Everybody good on subtle? Everybody had enough subtle for now? Because we're not stopping for more till we're all the way through the Rankin and Bass Witch King. Rankin and Bass Return of the King, also weird and worth watching. For a lot of reasons that are probably like worth their own video to talk about, but in particular because it has my favorite Witch King. Spoiler alert, this one's my favorite. Okay, I said the Backshi version was the coolest like ring wraiths, like as a crew. They are absolutely the most terrifying. They look like people who will kill you in your dreams. But if we're talking king, singular, like the Witch King of Angmar, this guy, I love this guy. Listen to him.
Not between the Nazgul and his prey, or he will slay thee in turn.
Come on, that's your guy right there. I love everything about his design. He actually looks like a general, which I appreciate. He is armed and armored like the troops he leads, which I think is a cool detail. I like that it's the only version that committed to him having just like a headless nothing. I will talk about the Jackson version later. Hold your comments. But this one commits to him having the headless nothing. It is so clear that he is a ghost in a suit of armor. Having the robe just be down and the crown float, bold move. 5 stars. I also like that he's not huge or imposing, because what should make someone scary in Lord of the Rings world should be their like knowledge and sort of wisdom and understanding of the world and the magics at play, right? Like Gandalf's not dangerous because he's huge. Maybe I'm just a simple guy and I like simple things, but I think this extremely human design that just is ghost-faced really does something. Like as a commander, seeing him up on that dragon like all posed and heroic, like he looks like an evil lord that I would not want to stand against. Bakshi's Witch King seems like he's made out of malicious stardust. Meanwhile, the Rankin and Bass Witch King is like a screaming murder ghost on a dragon, like taunting and talking mad shit. Just like a way different type of evil scary, as opposed to the more traditional type of evil scary, the kind of, lumbering and cartoony. Jackson, I'm talking about the Jackson version. Also, I have in my notes here, call Rankin Bass R&B, and then later rhythm and blues. So obviously that didn't happen. So I leave the Rankin Bass Witch King with the impression of someone who is actually sort of kingly. Not regal kingly, but like, petty monarch kingly. If he takes Minas Tirith, he's going to have a whole ceremony where he accepts their surrender so that he can be really catty and say a bunch of mean stuff to the people he just conquered. See, meanwhile, Peter Jackson's Witch King, he wins the battle, he takes Minas Tirith, and then he has to get back to the Spirit Halloween store to give his costume back. He just has this haunted house design. He's just like the bathrobe king to me, and the mace. The big, gigantic Nerf mace. This fat ball of yoga mat and craft tape. I can smell the dap coming off it from here. Whatever this design could be or could have been, it dies. It dies at the end of this chain. But we aren't just here to criticize, we're here to learn. So, what is good about this design? A lot, to be honest. I don't like it. We can be upfront with that, but that doesn't mean it's bad. The bathrobe is silly when you put it all together, but as an individual item, the bathrobe looks really nice. It does look sort of ancient. It looks like it was embroidered. It looks like a fancy garment somebody might have been buried in, which is pretty cool. Like, the Witch King's not like a zombie, but the visual connection of this sort of, life and undeath, this sort of trapped between worlds, like, it brings something out there. I like the little bits of, like, mail you can see peeking out, like, kind of around his other armored bits. Like, there's this little bit of paranoia hiding under there. Very subtle and appropriate foreshadowing for what's to come. See, I told you there was more subtle across the dry country of Rankin Bass. Less subtle, but still awesome. I like that his helmet is like a clan hood with a crown of thorns. It's hard to pin down specifically, but it definitely speaks to something. And the biggest compliment is that this design is simple. They like definitely the award for, most reward out of least work goes to the Jackson version. And of course, you all as my reasonable orc audience know that that's not an insult by any means. The more elaborate message you can communicate with the elements at hand is a huge measure of your strength as an artist. By no means the only measure or the most important one, but a good one. This is a particularly useful life lesson if you're an artist like me who gets way too caught up in the details. So many pieces die through too much ambition, like ambition that feels good in the moment, like you're doing the best and you're giving the project everything to make it as good as it can be, but you're actually making it much worse by trying to cram too many things into one concept. If it's in your heart that you want to make visually dense, complicated things, you can and you should. It's just important to know the other side of it. You got to understand what you're working against. And that understanding will help you when you go back to doing your dense, complicated, every detail in the world art. I'm not going to stop. I'm definitely not going to tell you to. I have to believe that Jackson's Ring Wraith is basically like a puppet. Like, they just, tell him he's a good boy and talk about what a big, scary king he is, while this random orc that they made up for the film actually runs the entire operation. They, have him in on meetings while they all agree on stuff, and, every time they come to a consensus, they look at him so that he can nod approvingly to feel important, and then he can go back to just, sitting there, blankly wall-eyed, just drifting into the void. Little butterfly flies into his helmet and then back out of it again. I feel like this guy falls off of his dragon like some kind of trash bag ghost someone hung in October and didn't fall till November. And he gets up with his big Nerf mace and starts whispering, and I feel like if I could lock eyes with at least 3 other people, we could all nod and kind of jump him and steal his big clan hat and his magic ring that makes you into a murder ghost. Shit, dude, his body's not even worth looting. If this guy's armor was actually left there after he died, people would have melted it down. Some Gondorian soldier wearing his robe I'm the Witch King of Agmar. You walk past my red censer, I play a little song. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm being so mean. I like this movie a lot. I like the Jackson movies in general. I just think this one design is a little bit silly, and we're having fun. If you're curious my opinion on the Fell Beasts, I love them all. 10 out of 10, good boys, every single one of them, top notch. So, what is The Witch of Angmar to me? You won't be surprised to learn that as a kid, I didn't know the guy from the Backshi version was the same as the one from the Rankin and Bass version. But that doesn't mean that the Backshi version doesn't have something to contribute here, because now I've read the books, and I have my own mental versions of these people and places and events. And because of the quality of the text, I didn't really have any trouble with any of that. You can go in having experienced all of these. You will still have a very personal experience and a very individualistic Middle-earth all your own. And this is where Backshi comes back in. This ghostly version of him adds something to the Witch King for me that I really don't get from the versions that I would have, recognized were both the Witch King. Being trapped between mediums is an excellent visual metaphor for being trapped between worlds. His sort of eternal unlife disshaping him and misshaping him. And I'm not sure if I would have pictured him quite that way if I didn't have this Backshi version in my mind, this sort of disfigured, not physically, but spiritually disfigured in a way that affects the sort of aura about him, the sort of shifting shadow that makes up what he is. He can't project a fully human version of himself because he is not fully human anymore. His soul is inhuman. There's human details mixed, sort of swirling in there that's left maybe empty but willed into form when needed. This interpretation with bits of face really sort of fights against the descriptive text, but I can more or less justify it mentally, and that's good enough for something that's going to be seen only by me and my own imagination. Well, and you guys just this once, but you're not going to tell anyone. You'll keep this between us, yeah? So I want to keep that aspect, and I want to keep him as a human-sized person. I don't care if he's a little bit large. I actually would prefer him a little bit small. What should be scary about him is his unnatural nature, his knowledge of things best forgotten, and him being wrapped and protected by this crazy prophecy that says he can't be killed, asterisk. Like, when you put all that together, he should be scary. It should seem like if you touch him, it might burn you. If he's going to be not just a witch, not just a ghost, but a king, and he should evoke a kingly feeling. To me, anyway. Like, if you're an orc on the ground and you see him flying around, you should be thinking, oh yeah, we're going to win this one. And I guess you guys, as my orcs, can tell me whether you think we're going to win this one. But either way, this is the version I'm going to use from now on. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. You might notice I didn't really get into the technical specifics of this drawing because I don't want to. I don't care about that part. Because I could probably draw him again and it would look totally different, and that would also be fine. The point of this was to just dig into the other designs and not try to figure out why they are the way they are, but just kind of work out why I feel the way I feel about the way that they are, if that makes sense. Then I won't just know what I like, but I'll understand kind of why I like it. Just having all of that chewed on makes it much easier to synthesize my own king. Even if I choose to use none of those elements, at least I will understand what they could have brought to the image for me, you know, if I wanted to use them. And that's the key to all of this, is I'm just really worrying about what it would be to me. The same way if you were looking at these and trying to break them down, you would be thinking about what they would be to you. And then in that way, you can get a totally different result than me. Maybe a different set of guiding principles top to bottom. Anytime you can get a sort of personal data set like this, characters or designs or story elements, anything that clicks with you emotionally, if you can find multiple cards of the same suit that give you that same impact, you can line them up like this and examine them in this way and try to figure out what the connecting force in them is, figure out why these different things speak to you. Do this 100% as a thought exercise, but I highly recommend tracking your results. Do drawings, no one else will ever see them, or write it up, do it longhand, that's kind of fun, you have your own little notebook of stuff. But just like keep it somehow. You'll probably replace it when the time comes to actually use the idea for something. But actually, you know, doing it out, working it out in your own way is a satisfying exercise. Just keep in mind that it's just for you and no one else is ever going to experience it, and sort of maybe make that promise to yourself too, like kind of commit to it. Because the more you believe no one else is going to see it, the freer you're going to be to design it the way you actually want it to be, completely independent of the sort of accidental pressure that other people put on you when you have to show them your art. If you're a new artist or you're art curious, this is a really good way to feel how you feel about it without having to put anything emotional on the line. Thank you, my fellow Orokai. I appreciate your times, your grunts, your squeals, that guy that threw a head. If you like this pre-battle speech, then please beat your war drums and cheer to the end of the Age of Man. And just a reminder here at the end of all things, obviously I'm not a world-class artist, I'm just someone doing art and talking about it on YouTube. Many people watching this are much better artists than me, some are better than I will ever become. I don't want to give the impression that I'm up here on some podium like, but get out of my way, the king of art is here to give you good advice. I just like to kind of share what I know. If I can at least get people up to the sort of floor that I'm on, then they can climb on past me. Also, tell your fellow orcs, I have a lot more speeches I'd like to deliver, and the roars of encouragement really go a long way. I've been your phalanx, Val the Robot, and I'll see you at the Towers of the Teeth.